Hello team, welcome back to the channel. Now before anyone freaks out, yes, I'm on a bike. No, I'm not injured, touch wood. I am just diversifying my activities. So Lydia and I have both recently bought bikes, which is very exciting. And there's a number of reasons. I'm going to talk to you about it today. But before we get into that, I just want you to start to think about your current identity as a runner. Is running your only source of identity? If someone was to describe you, would they say, oh yeah, they're a pretty good runner, or they run a lot? What else are they going to say as part of your elevator pitch? Now, this is something that I've had to think about for a while. I am a runner, a running coach. I have a podcast about running. I have a YouTube channel about running. Most of my friends are runners. So you could look at me on paper and say, you're kind of one-dimensional. What else have you got going on? I'm gonna have to continue this after this hill, which is gonna look insignificant, but I need every bit of power I can get. That's how much of a rookie I am. Lydia, if you're watching, I'm walking up that hill. I should not have been vlogging at the start of that hill, and it was too late. Couldn't come back from that, so we are doing the humbling walk. But again, more activities, right? Not only can you be a runner and a cyclist, but a walker who takes their bike for a walk as well. So the reason I'm bringing up this idea around identity in runners is a mixture of years of conversations with Lydia and conversations on our podcast about this exact topic. When runners love running, it consumes their life, they get injured, they can't run, and then they don't know who they are anymore. All right, we're going downhill, I'm gonna have to come back. Okay, this whole vlogging thing is proving to be rather difficult. I can't hold it when I'm going downhill because I'm scared, and I can't hold it when I'm going uphill because I need my hands. Uh-oh, another down. Also, any cyclists looking at my front tire, Sam and Tim, I'm talking to you. I know it's flat, and I tried to pump it up, but it won't pump, so not sure what to do about that. New pump, new tire, oh, another downhill. This is turning into chaos. Okay, back to identity. So, I've had lots of conversations with Lydia about this topic, and our friend Freya, who is the founder of Reframe Sessions, she speaks to this a lot, and I'll link her Instagram below, and also a link to a conversation I had with her on YouTube a few months ago. She explains this topic really well and has lots of interesting case studies and examples of athletes who've been through this kind of identity shift post-injury. So while I'm not injured currently, touch wood, I think it's important to diversify your activities for number one, the reasons around identity and having multiple activities, multiple hobbies, multiple interests, and not being siloed into one singular activity and therefore a singular identity. I think it's really important, but it's not necessarily the reason that I am cycling today. Usually, if you see on Strava your friend uploads a Zwift ride or an elliptical session or a swim, you might raise a few red flags about possible injury that might be going on. But here's some reasons why I think it's important to diversify your activities, even when you're not injured. So for me personally at the moment, there are a number of reasons why I've introduced cycling into my program. Oh, a bit puffed, which reminds me, point number one, it's for the cardiovascular fitness gains, specifically for some zone 2 adaptation and zone 2 training. Going for a bike ride with a couple of hills or even over the flats with the skill level that I have is a really nice way to get some cardio conditioning in without overloading the legs too much. It's lower impact, it's a totally different movement pattern, and you can do it relatively safely without, I say safely and then I freak out, hang on, hill. So the reason that cycling is such a win in terms of cardiovascular fitness is, sorry, just braking, particularly when you're at my skill level, the heart rate actually comes up, heart rate comes up a little bit, enough to get me into zone 2, which means I'm getting some really nice physiological adaptations without overloading the body. I'm not loading my muscles, tendons, ligaments and bones in the same way that I do when I'm running. So there's varied load, there's different load, and it's reducing my repetitive overuse tendency if I was doing the same amount of volume running, if I just swap some of that out for cycling. We know from a physiological perspective, the more zone 2 volume, easy volume, low intensity cardiovascular training we get in, the more fit we're going to become. But of course that is limited by injury risk. If we're just running all day long, we might get fit temporarily, but eventually we're going to overdo it and we're going to get injured. This is where adding in some cross training like cycling, provided you aren't unlucky enough to have a crash, your injury risk is relatively low. So at the moment, when I'm still coming back from a couple of ultra marathons in a bit of a recovery period, speaking of crash, we've got a car coming, gonna be safe, beautiful. So at the moment with my training, I'm kind of in between things. I'm recovering from some ultra marathons and not building up for my next race too soon. So it's a great time to bank some fitness without needing to do so much mileage on the run. So not only is it good in this kind of maintenance off-season phase, it's obviously a great tool for rehab and recovery coming back from an injury. So I think there are many times within your training season, training cycle, that the cycle will be useful. Gosh, you would have thought this was scripted. So from a fitness perspective, what I think would be really interesting to play around with is doing a long run, which is shorter than I would traditionally do for the lead up to an ultramarathon, followed by a long cycle to stimulate a similar cardiovascular response, but with less bone and tendon loading. Now, of course, I'm not saying cycling can replace running. I think they're very different mechanically. They're very different in terms of loading. I don't think I can personally get my heart rate up high enough with the skill level that I'm at to stimulate any higher intensity zones that I would get through running. So one is not equal to the other. One is not a replacement of the other, but I do think it can be a great tool to add to your training regime. Now, there's always a caveat. The caveat to that is if you're already doing heaps of running volume, it might not be wise to add something like cycling or cross training in to your already overloaded training schedule, particularly if you're not meeting the caloric needs, not eating enough. Could be a risk for overtraining in terms of just general amount of volume that you're doing, burning more than you're consuming. So take all of this with a grain of salt. Who knows why this is squeaking? I think something in there somewhere isn't super tight, so it's moving a bit, which is not the most comforting feeling. But yeah, might be due for a bike check, I think. So we know it's good for fitness. We know it's good for your identity and self-efficacy and general improvements as a human. What else? It's so fun. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm having a great time. I don't know if you are, but I sure am. It feels good. It's a novel experience if you're not a cyclist already. And I think as adults, it's always fun to bring new things in, try different stuff. You might hate it, and that's fine. Give it a go, try it out. You might find something that you really love. Also, something that I'm learning is how good it is to be really bad at something. I've been bad at things plenty of times in my life, but it's always a nice reminder. It's nice to try something new, and particularly if you're someone who is pretty sporty, relatively fit, you feel pretty good, trying something athletic or sporty or in the fitness world and not instantly being great at it is a humbling experience. And it's a reminder that you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to do everything to the absolute best. You can have activities that are good for you, that are healthy, that create fitness or that improve your fitness, but you don't necessarily have to win a race or even sign up for a race or to hit certain paces or ride at a certain speed. In this case, you can just enjoy it, and it's so freeing to have nothing to compare to have no previous PBs, to have no expectations, and just be able to get out, hop on a bike, feel a little silly, feel like you're an absolute newbie, have no idea what you're doing, but get to be out here in nature, enjoying something different, moving your body, breathing in fresh air, looking at the trees. It's really worthwhile, and it doesn't matter if you're not the best. We don't have to go to Tour de France. It's just about trying something new, opening up your options, discovering new possibilities. So the main reason for the bike riding is Lydia and I want to do some bike packing. We want to ride somewhere far away, camp the night, ride somewhere else. So we are in early preparations for that. We need to get more confident, we need to get better skill level, we need to work out why my bike is so squeaky, why my tyre is flat, why my brakes sound a bit funny, and we need to get some more gear, get our logistics happening, but stay tuned for some cycling adventures, hopefully this year. So for all the running purists out there, don't worry, cycling content is not going to take over. As you can see, I'm not very good at it in terms of vlogging and oh gosh, another hill, here we go again. It's not flat. Gosh, that was so nice. Cyclists cop so much hate for being an inconvenience. A cyclist just came up next to me and said, have you got a pump for your tyre? Which makes you think, gosh, it really is very flat if you can see it from behind. And secondly, I said, yes, I have a pump, but it didn't seem to work. And he's like, oh, do you want to use mine? Like, we're mid-ride. And he was just going to pull over and help me pump it up. But I said, no, I've got it. Let him carry on. But how generous to offer his pump, offer his assistance mid-ride. He looked very serious, had all the gear, very nice bike. But I didn't want to interrupt his ride. He was with a friend. Very generous offer. So shout out to the kind cyclists and just kind humans in general. We need more of that. So as a bit of a summary, cycling is great. I am converted. I'm a rookie, but very much enjoying the journey. So if you're a runner who at the moment is just a runner, let this be your reminder to diversify your activities, try something new, get a bike, get some goggles, go for a walk, whatever it is. Mixing it up is a good thing. Your running will thank you for it. Your performance should improve, your fitness should improve, and your overall enjoyment of life. Thank you so much for watching, team. Appreciate you so much. Subscribe if you haven't already. More cycling content, but mostly running content coming very soon. Oh, and don't forget, check out the Stronger Stride podcast wherever you get your podcasts.